check that out. This is the longest minute.
You've connected to Lehigh Valley Tech Radio.
Mark, are you muted? Mark, are you muted? Are you muted?
I'm muted. Do I have to be muted?
No, it's like a normal Zoom conversation.
Oh, that's right.
Like how
muted,
much? Yeah, how many times on a Zoom are you like, Bob, you're muted. Bob, we can't hear you. Bob. No, Bob, you should mute now. Bob, mute now, okay? All right, well, welcome to this episode of LVTech Radio and our virtual LVTech meetup. We've got people watching on Zoom, probably nobody watching on YouTube, let's be honest. But we've got people watching on Zoom. We're resurrecting the LVTech Radio, at least for one meetup, because I can't control the volume with my mouse. That's pretty bad. I
don't know if this is better or worse. At least when we were on the radio, we didn't know if we had no one listening to us or not.
No, there are people. I see attendees on the list. So it's like LVTech Radio. It's like an LVTech meetup. We can't meet up in person, so we figured we'd just do this. For those who don't know, we are the three original organizers of LVTech Radio, or not LVTech Radio, LVTech, the meetup, way back in 2000, I think it was 11, because the first hackathon was 2012.
Yep. It was 9 years ago.
Yeah,
Really?
and we did the hackathon in the spring after we started it, and a bit of history. It started actually at a PHP meetup that me and Mark were at, and Mark saw.
I fell in love with you, Tim, right there. I was like, I saw your beard, and I was like, yes, you are a type of programmer that I want to hang out with.
No, the beard is epic now. The beard is nothing like it used to be.
Yeah. This actually, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to say it's iconic because I don't know that anybody, but it at least is my thing. So people at conferences and stuff recognize. I think they recognize me from
It's your thing. You got to keep it going.
So yeah, 2011, there's a PHP meetup. Me, Mark, and two other guys were there, and Mark was talking about this co-working space that was opening up in the Lehigh Valley, and it was at the Bridgeworks, which was an incubator for manufacturing, and they had carved off one of their big rooms to turn into a co-working space with no air conditioning or heat, depending on which season you were. It was great, like for 3 months out of the year. Like, if you caught it right, it was perfect.
May through like June, right? Actually,
Right.
April to like June were decent.
Yeah. And then at the end, I mean, some end of August, couple weeks into August before it was like
September,
terrible.
October were pretty okay.
And then you're just like, oh, it's so cold in here. So, but we wanted he wanted to check that out, and somehow conned Matt, who was managing.
Oh, he was
that
Matt
time.
Turk, yeah.
Yeah, he conned Matt into letting us run a meetup there, and we did.
Yep.
And man, I remember that first meetup. It was good stuff. Mm-hmm. So after that, ran meetups for a couple months, and then had our first hackathon, and that was a long time ago.
We were at the firehouse, the Victory Firehouse.
Yeah, we were at the Victory Firehouse for a while. Then
we got tossed out of there for no apparent reason, and knocked on some guy named Wayne's door, and been there ever since.
Anthony took Wayne's job. What's weird is almost every place that we've been at.
That's true. He just like kind of
Anthony's
takes over.
coming and taking somebody's job.
Yeah.
So he took Matt's job originally. Now he's taking Wayne's job. So if I come to you and I say, "Can we host a meetup here?" Just 2-3 years, Anthony's coming for your job. All right. Well, it's a good show. I think that's about as much content as we have.
Well, I was thinking about like 10 years though. That's like, so you're like, this is the 9th year?
Yeah, I guess
so. We should definitely maybe hopefully, if everything goes well in a year from now, in 10 years, we should do something special.
For the 10th year LVTech anniversary?
Yeah,
we should look back at Meetup and see when our first Meetup actually was.
We'll do something. We'll do big. Remember the Christmas party that we had, the first Christmas party?
We've had some good Christmas parties, yeah.
That was at Tech Ventures. That was a good Christmas party. We should do something like that again.
We've had some good hackathons too.
Yeah.
Which we should have again if we ever stop with all this stay-at-home stuff.
Are Startup Weekend still a thing? Are they still a thing?
I don't think they're as much of a thing as they were.
Wait, aren't you a Startup Weekend organizer, Anthony?
Yeah, he should know. No. He's a facilitator.
No,
I was a facilitator.
Yeah. We're the organizers. Yeah, we're the organizers. He's the official facilitator.
Yeah. without him, we didn't know what we were doing.
That was, I think, when they jumped over to Techstars, I stopped facilitating. They emailed me. They emailed me out of the blue like 18 months after I stopped facilitating, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to go to?" I think someone in Greensboro. Like I had done a startup weekend in Greensboro, North Carolina, and I guess they had asked for me, and they're like, "Do you want to go to Greensboro?" I was like, "What? No, I don't want to go to Greensboro."
Not really, no. All right, well, let's cover some of these topics that we have on our topic list. First one, innovations in crisis, is what Anthony put there. So how are we? Here's something that about a month ago, probably a little bit more than a month ago, because I use Zoom every day. Well, every day that I have to actually talk to somebody at the company I work from. I'm completely remote. I've been that way for most of my career. And the company that I work with right now primarily is a completely remote team. About 40 people, 50 people, something like that. There is no office. Everybody's remote. So I use Zoom, more than once a week, a couple times a week probably, if not more than that. But I said to one of the guys on the team, I was surprised. This was like a month ago. I said, I'm surprised that Zoom is still working as well as it is.
Yeah, I see the same thing.
Like the usage of Zoom went from, anybody know the numbers on that? In 3 months, which is why I'm holding up two fingers. There we go. That's better. 3 months. Anybody know?
Didn't they go something from like 25 to 250 million users
10.
or something like that?
Yeah, 10 to 200 million users.
Wow.
So I'm just impressed that it's still working.
Yeah, because especially when this all went down, because the whole Northampton, they all went on it, and it was, and we would have like 500 person, like all everybody, faculty and employee of the company, and like have like these once a week like Zoom sessions. It was surprising how well it performed.
Yeah, and I've seen some quality, like a little bit of a quality degradation, but for the most part, it's been pretty stable. So, and
yeah, I've been using it for staff meetings, about 22 people. I think the only time I really see it slow down is if you do like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. West Coast is live, East Coast is live, and I think it just gets a little overburdened.
Yeah,
that's really it.
Well, so Charlie says it's being heavily used by schools, and it is, because I don't know if they're giving away some features for schools.
Initially they were, because they would have like the free accounts would give you 40 minutes or 45 minutes of time, and then when this all started to go down, they started to take away the time limit kind of subtly, and then they just open it up for like anybody who has an educational account, like an email address. They can get like
EDU.
Yeah. So, and also like, I guess also, I don't know how the deal works with schools. Like what they've done with the faculty is that they purchase like bulk accounts and then given them out to faculty. So they're kind of all under one organization.
Yeah. Lehigh staff has Zoom accounts. They gave us all accounts maybe 2 months before this all started.
I saw they ran ran one of their, I forget what event it was, but I saw they ran their event on Zoom the other night.
Oh, they ran one of the Baker Institute ran their Innovate Celebrate dinner, one of their events. They had some pitches on, so it was cool. Yeah, it was fun.
But yeah, start talking about like peak usage. So the church that I go to is small, and we've never really had a reason to live stream stuff. Like the church that started the church that I go to, the church that I grew up in, they live stream all the time. That's part of their standard, every service is live stream for the people that can't get there or stay at home, or, just not feeling well, or some of the elderly, things like that. So for them, this isn't a huge change other than there's no congregation there, right? So it's still a couple of the pastors doing a live stream service to essentially an audience of no one in the room, but everybody's watching the live stream. For us, though, we're a small church, and we were kind of doing some of that, like watching other services and meeting on Zoom, at least weekly, to kind of just see everybody. But for Easter, we wanted to do something more. So we had a Zoom service, which is weird because unlike normal live stream services where it's at a place streaming out, and that's how a lot of churches are doing it now. It was my pastor at his house. I led singing at my house. We had special music at other people's houses, and we used the webinar feature to live stream it to Facebook. But the thing that I found it very interesting is 9:30, I'm running some tests, 9:50 I'm running tests, making sure it's all working. But when it sets up the initial stream, it's just sending Facebook the stream data, and you have to hit like the go live button to go live. But if you don't do that, Zoom goes, you're not really interested, and they shut down the stream. So you have to, kind of start the preview and then go live rather quickly. So our service, for odd reasons, starts at 10:15. 10:15 or a little bit before 10:15, I'm trying to get it to stream. Nothing. Zoom can't get to Facebook, and it's like, well, okay, I kind of get this. This is probably, now all of a sudden Sunday at 10 o'clock is a huge streaming time too. So, but it took a couple tries, but we got it working. But that was one of it's something that I never thought I'd be doing with Zoom. Speaking of things you didn't think you'd be doing with Zoom, Anthony, can you tell us a little bit about the first Zoom meeting you hosted? Yes, Anthony's frozen. Speaking of,
well, at least he's smiling. At least it looks good there.
He's frozen in a smile.
No. So the very first, I don't know. I get the first. I think technically it's my wife's. The very first meeting that my wife hosted. Tara and I got married on the internet.
Wait, you're married? Wait, what?
So we are married. Yep, we got married in got married exactly a month ago today. It's the 1 month anniversary.
So is that where you were when you're posting all those pictures down like Puerto Rico or someplace like that, or on the islands?
No, that was we went to Puerto Rico. Actually, that picture in my background. Let's see if I do that. No, that doesn't work. There we go.
So it was like a pre-wedding trip
in Puerto Rico. Yeah, we went on vacation. We had got engaged in October of 2019. And we're planning to get married March 21st of 2020. And we were working really hard. Tara started her business. And I was really busy at work because you guys know like what the end of the year is like for the startup world. It's a little crazy. So we were kind of burnt out. We decided to go on vacation. So we jumped on the interwebs, found an Airbnb, hopped down to Puerto Rico for a week. Came back and kind of as we were leaving, we were starting to hear stuff that coronavirus had traveled to the US. And then by the time we came back a week later, New York was already starting to see a rocket, a climb in cases. So anyway, long story short is originally, we were going to get married at Tara's sister's house in her backyard and a whole bunch of stuff there. And that obviously wasn't going to happen. And we started thinking about what to do. And it was like, we wanted to get married. Obviously one, because we're in a great relationship and we're very happy. And we wanted to kind of make it official. But the other piece was, as we were kind of watching stuff happen around us, we figured, hey, this might be a lot easier to deal with an emergency if we're legally married and I can speak for you and you can speak for me and we can both speak for Tara's son, Sam. So in Pennsylvania, you can get what they call a self-uniting marriage license, which is left over from the Quakers.
Self-uniting? Is that what it's called?
Self-uniting.
Wow.
Yep. So this was a Quaker tradition. People would gather together. You would stare at the other person that you wanted to be with the rest of your life, and in an hour you would decide we're married. And
was the staring
I've
actually
heard that.
part of it?
Shake his head.
You stare at it?
No, you could. There was some. Tara was reading. There was some tradition where in some Quaker celebrations, you would just kind of sit and stare at the other person that you wanted to marry, and you could stare at the other person that you want to marry for an hour. Lo and behold, you would call yourself married. But this is what we decided to do. So we went down to the courthouse.
It's the weirdest staring contest ever.
Yeah, so they were starting to shut the courts down. So we actually had to come up to Lehigh County and get the Lehigh County courthouse. I can't, it is not official, but I'm pretty sure we might have gotten the last marriage license issued in Lehigh County.
Ooh.
Because there was no one in the office that day. We got there like a little bit after lunch. and we were the only people there. But so I picked up a marriage license, and a couple days later, we set up a Zoom. We started with just inviting the people who were going to invite to our wedding, was going to be really small, just kind of immediate family. And then it was like, well, hey, things are crazy. People need some good news and something to celebrate. And we just stuck it up on a Facebook event and invited everybody we knew. And we had 150 or 40 people logged in at some point. Wrote up our vows and got married on our living room, using a MacBook.
Wayne says it was weird. All the guests on Zoom just sitting there for an hour while they stared at each other. So
it was an hour. It was like 20 minutes.
It was. I mean, for me,
the staring. Okay.
For me, it was perfect because it was a 20-minute wedding that I didn't have to leave my house for. I was outside building a raised bed for my garden while I watched the Zoom. So I think it's the wave of the future and exactly what William Penn intended.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I feel bad that I missed it because like what has been before, like the past 6 months or even to a year, I pretty much got off of Facebook. I didn't delete my account, but I guess I just kind of just stopped checking. And then I was slowly starting to get back into it. And even like I deleted all the apps from my phone, just trying to be efficient, not trying to get bogged down in the whole social thing. And but then I didn't see the post. I was like, I would have joined. And then you told me like when we were gonna do this the Zoom meeting here that you're married. I was like, what? That's crazy.
Yep, getting married on Zoom.
Yeah. Did you record it? Did you video record it?
We did record it, and actually, so it's interesting. So Tara is her career is in marketing, communications, and things like that. So one of the people who happened to attend was an NPR show host. So we ended up doing an interview for NPR.
Oh,
and
cool.
then we also we did another thing. I forgot who the other. Was it Boston? Some people in Boston. Either another kind of webcast thing. We did a Skype call with someone, and we got to talk about getting married on Zoom. But yeah, it was fun. We have it recorded somewhere. I think she has it on her computer.
That's the problem with recording Zooms, at least for our company. They record to the cloud, but sometimes we can't figure out where the cloud is. There's been times when we're like, it was certainly recorded, but no one really knows where it is. We can't find it. No, it's gone now.
It's also like in 720. It's horrible resolution.
And all the people that didn't mute keep popping their faces over what's really going on.
Yeah.
So.
No, but it was fun. We had a good time.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Of course. Although I was also there, so it was really fun to see. It was really fun to see.
Yeah, next time that I'm not so socially distanced from you, I will give you a wedding gift. A little pat on the back. Congratulations. A little cigar.
That'll work.
But actually, I liked your strategy with it. Like you did like a pre-wedding trip instead of doing the honeymoon. So that worked out for you because traveling was out of the question too after getting married. It's kind of like, and also I also like the idea of doing a trip before you get married too, just to just like the staring, just to be sure. That's you want to spend the rest of your life with. It's a good test, and it worked out well for you.
Yeah, a week in Puerto Rico was definitely an easy test.
All right.
Well, we're out of stuff. No, I guess there's more stuff. Well, we actually didn't even get to the first one. Innovation in crisis was what Anthony put on there. So some of these, some of the ventilators and stuff that people are open sourcing. I don't know,
it was pretty cool. So this is probably month old. Well, maybe 2 weeks. How much time has passed in the world? I don't know.
It feels like a long time. It's been like 3 weeks, but yeah, 4 weeks.
That is the worst thing about this whole thing, man. The days just blend together. Like seemed like 5 o'clock. It just repeating like so fast over and over again. Ugh.
Yeah, definitely. But early on, when the conversation was there weren't going to be enough ventilators for everybody. There probably aren't enough ventilators for what everybody needs. And you can go down a rabbit hole with that conversation.
Yeah, I just want to throw this out. Not a medical professional. My wife is, but it seems that even the ventilator step may be causing problems in some cases.
Sure, too.
Yeah.
I've read a couple
on
of
ventilator is causing issues. So that's the big problem is we just don't even understand it to begin with. But so when it seemed like there was not enough ventilators, or there would be a shortage, people started trying to solve for that.
Yeah. So one of the first things I think we saw was Dyson kind of put their team together. I think in like 10 or 11 days, they built in their factory. They designed and built a ventilator using all of their parts in their system and not having to go too far into the supply chain. And got it approved by whatever Britain's regulatory agency is, and I think they were supposed to be able to scale it up to I think 5,000 or so a day, something like that. It was supposed to be. It was pretty cool, but I was really impressed with, you kind of stick people in a jam, and they figure out how to make stuff happen. And then the other part of that was, I think a few days after that news came out, Medtronic basically put out on the internet, they open sourced their ventilator schematics and their ventilator firmware, and basically said, here, have it. If you can, go build it.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So I thought both of those things were really cool to see.
Yeah, the Dyson one does look cool. It would be better if there was a big ball that it kind of just rolled over where it needs to go.
I was going to say, like, for the Dyson, I'd be, like, they're all efficient. I'd be a little bit afraid that you're just going to inflate people with that thing.
Oh, I know. The motor, I know. I was thinking the same thing. It's like, that's pretty powerful.
Well, the guys are like, this is the most powerful motor in the world and doesn't even use a filter. Something like that. No bag. Just boom. And you're fine. So... But yeah, I saw there were even in Italy, there were some people that were kind of reverse engineering parts, like hard to come by parts for the ventilators they were using, and then 3D printing some of that.
A lot of 3D printing stuff, face masks and a lot of stuff. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's why I've been seeing a lot of like people on Twitter with like face masks and like and all the stuff that they're printing like with the 3D printers at home.
Right.
It seems like a resurgence of like the golden age of like 3D printing now that that's the only thing you can do. Get stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty.
We have a live question I'm going to go to because this is cool.
Oh, we do.
I'm going to say answer live. Who would like to answer this question live? I'm just telling people I'm going to answer it live. So Charlie had a question about our thoughts on the Zoom security issues.
Zoom bombing.
Zoom bomb. Well, you know what? This is our dev team uses it all the time. We were like, that make life a little bit more interesting. Someone drop in and be like, hey, this is some break to the Menotti. How are you? What's up with you? Oh, it's you again. So we haven't had any issue. The CTO has turned on the waiting room in his meeting. So every time now I jump into a meeting with him, I have to wait for him to let me in, which is mildly annoying, but it's not too bad. But other than that, we've been just running it normally, and we've not been Zoom bombed. I guess the other issue that Zoom had was as they scaled up, they had routed traffic in places that they really shouldn't route traffic. So if you're talking about a US-based call, they were routing that potentially over servers that were in China. And as you know, China's servers, or China as a country, doesn't have a really great privacy policy. So there's definite concerns about that. But my thought, I think Zoom's going to fix it. They've been working on it. I like their response. The response wasn't, it's not a problem. The response wasn't, dismissive of it. The response was pretty much, we're halting development of other features and we're going to address security issues now because that's what's important. So,
well, isn't the 2-level security, like you talked about the waiting room, and the next level is they could do like a password for the session. Yeah, that's really the only thing you can do, right?
Yeah, and Charlie's saying his concern about, in education, and it's certainly a concern in education. I was helping a friend who's a teacher, and she's now having to do all her classes remotely, and she's a special ed teacher, so it's a whole nother level of getting everything set up. But she has an EDU account. I guess I don't know if it's because of the domain name, but I could definitely see there was notices on her Zoom account that, hey, we've removed the time limit, and it was not possible for us to create a Zoom meeting without a password, which is good. And I think, I guess the issue with the password is the Zoom meeting IDs were auto. I don't think they're auto increment. I don't think it's just like a increment by one, but they're easy enough you can guess them. And once you guess them,
people were using like a randomizer and dropping on meetings.
Yeah, you can hit certain parts of the API and say, oh, this is a valid ID, and then you can just drop in on that. So adding the password makes it makes it much harder to kind of do that. The term escapes me, but just kind of that probing to find meetings and then jump in them. Because if you're just doing that brute force attack, my understanding is that it will be much more difficult now.
So wasn't there a thing with that? And I'd have to go dig around for it, but wasn't there? They were sharing information with Facebook or something like that, and I thought that was a big stink and.
Oh yeah, I want to do that.
In the headlines not too long ago.
I hadn't seen that.
Let's see if I can find it.
Yeah, I think one of the issues with education, because it's interesting, where it didn't happen to me, again, because instructors are using it different ways. Like most of my classes I'm doing are asynchronous, where like I'll do virtual office hours and do like one-on-ones or group sessions with students, but I won't hold like a traditional kind of class time. But then you have other instructors, because I'm doing all my videos offline and them uploading them. But then you have other instructors who they're trying to keep their class times, to keep some type of schedule with the students. And it seems like with this whole Zoom bombing thing happened because it was like all these faculty who, some may be tech savvy than others, they're kind of thrown in this technology and not really giving too much instruction how to use it, because the settings are there, like you said, the waiting room and the password, but they're not enforced. And then, from the developer's perspective, they don't really suggest you to use them. Right. They're you have to kind of dig in a little bit to get to them. So I think it worked itself out. But yeah, it was kind of, because I did hear a couple faculty who did have some people who just got in the session and showed some crazy things and then got off. So
they got Zoom bombed, huh?
Yeah.
I'm guessing too, that's more of a target for them too, because my understanding of the vulnerability was you could, when you generated a workable Zoom ID, you hit their API and you could bring back the information about the room.
Oh, really?
Once you do that, you can probably from that determine how many people are in the room based off just the address.
Wait, so that was open? That's their API is open? You could actually get that information?
Well, if there's no password on it, yeah, because isn't that what you're doing when you put in the Zoom ID and you're like, well, I'm going to join this meeting, you get the meeting information. I'm guessing is how it worked. I didn't look into the vulnerability. And probably from the description of the meeting, and I don't know if they give stats like attendees, maybe some meetings were more interesting for people to target for Zoom bombings. That's my guess.
So here it is. I found it. So the Facebook, the Zoom iOS app was using the Facebook, the login with Facebook SDK. And what they found out is that it was sharing data, sending analytics to Facebook, even if you didn't have a Facebook account. But that problem has been fixed. I don't know if they stopped using the SDK or they additional security. But that was the original stink, was that the iOS app, the Zoom iOS app, was sharing information with Facebook.
Gotcha. And the thing is, there's probably whatever other client you're going to jump to, or video platform you're going to jump to, more than likely has things like this too. You're just seeing them highlighted in Zoom because of the huge growth and how many people are using it.
Yep.
And I'm not trying to downplay, security. I'm sure there's companies that do it better than Zoom. I'm just saying that, when you go from 10 million to 200 million users, you become a big target, and all the things that you didn't realize were issues, now they were still issues, but they become much more pressing issues now. So, all right,
it's a pressing issue.
Great. This is always, whenever
would you
segue, this is always tough.
Would you, if you know that you could stop Corona, let's say within a week, maybe that's being crazy, but let's say you could, it would mean that the government would have to watch every single move that you did. Would you do it, Tim?
You and your hypotheticals. I mean, other than the fact that no, that would never happen. Like, those two things would not go together.
That's true. I was being a little bit extraneous on the one, but think about it. Like, it seemed like the past week, have you been reading about the whole piracy, or not the privacy apps, or the privacy issues related to the Corona tracking apps that they've been talked about? Because I guess Apple and Google came out saying that they are either working on the applications or working on building these features into their future versions of their OSs on the phones that would allow contact tracing to know that if you if I was walking by Anthony, walking my dog, and wanted to have a chat, and then my phone would beat me and say Anthony has a Corona, I'd be like, oh, I got to get away from Anthony.
Anthony has the corona. So, well, I mean, it's not. The thing is, it's not like a hypothetical. So Google and Apple are both sending anonymized location data.
Yeah.
To right now, just to anonymize location data to kind of see, are the stay home orders working? Are people actually staying home? Is there traffic? Is how they're interacting changing? Which, as a completely aside note, just to be, this thing has impacted my life very, very little. I work from home. We homeschool our kids. We live at home.
You're home.
This is not a big change for us. So I think Google's like, Tim's not changed his behavior. Well, no, I haven't. I'm just always home. That said, so they're sending that anonymized data. But Alibaba, which, if you know what Alibaba is, you've probably bought some of their cheap stuff off of their site. It's like
I have.
eBay in China. It takes forever to ship, but the stuff's dirt cheap because they're ripping other countries' technology to make theirs for the most part. But did you know that Alibaba is also the producer of the Mission Impossible movies now?
Well, are you talking about the Tencent? So the main kind of like that owns a lot of the media, that pretty much.
No, it's Alibaba Productions.
Don't go down to the China rat hole, because then we're gonna be talking about like craziness, because they pretty much own like a lot of like the Hollywood studios.
I'm just saying, but no, Alibaba does more than that, and the Alibaba app in China right now is what you show to see whether or not you can get into a building.
Oh, okay.
The app either green or reds you.
Like a passport. Okay.
And it's exactly what Mark's talking about. It knows where you've been. It knows where people who are either likely or have been exposed. So it's basically doing this modeling, which I think, if anything, the past month should show us is models are just models. Yeah. They don't necessarily mean they're accurate. They're just models. But it uses whatever information, whatever data it's analyzing to say whether or not it's likely that you are a carrier. And if it's red, you don't get to go in.
I mean, likely. How are they saying it's likely? As in based on other things they know about you?
I think it's based off of where you've been and where other people have been. I think it's what you're suggesting, Mark, that it's looking at other people or places where there's hotspots. So if there's a hotspot outbreak here and you were recently there, then no, you are too likely until you've been outside of the hotspot for whatever they're calling the incubation period. I'm guessing, because I've only seen the headlines and not like a technical deep dive on how it's actually doing that. But the thing is, it's sharing all that data with the Chinese government, which shouldn't surprise anybody. Like, that's not breathtaking. I mean, that's kind of what we expect. But what Mark is suggesting, Google and Apple trending towards these bigger concepts of privacy and civil liberty. It's not far fetched. It's not science fiction. It actually exists right now, and I'm fine with like just understanding that your phone is pretty much a tracker itself. It's pinging the cellular service, constantly. So it's keeping track of your location. That's what they've been talking about too. They've been using that data, kind of seeing how the social distancing has been working. Right.
What people have been congregating, kind of staying in their houses, who have been actually driving or going to different places. And I was tempted when I had to drive to Jersey for something. I was tempted to turn off my phone, but I did not. But wrap
it in tinfoil, Mark. Wrap it in tinfoil. I've seen it in the movie.
But I wanted to use ways to avoid the cops. So I'd like to that. Okay. Anyway.
Wait. The moral quandary of Mark Overline. I don't want them tracking me, but I want to know where the cops are.
Well, because this is the one thing I've been tweeting about, because that we are like in a liquor lockdown in PA, right? We're back in the 1920s.
A little bit. So I had to don my mask today just to get some stuff from Walmart.
And like for people like me who likes to occasionally have a beverage of the adult kind, is that this has been a little bit rough, So it was like the only place you can go is like the bordering states, which that's a whole other issue. But besides that fact, it was like
Ohio. Apparently, Ohio won't sell you anything. A friend of mine. You guys are crazy. Stay home.
And there's
Delaware will stop you at the border, and they have the right to search your car. It's crazy.
Yes. Well, I read about
they have the right to search your car.
If you come into Pennsylvania and if you go into Delaware and you're leaving Delaware with a Pennsylvania plate, you will probably get pulled over and they will probably check your car for alcohol.
All right, so I'm not a crazy you can't do that, but like I want to know.
So
you
there's
need probable cause. Are you just saying that
there's
it's probable that you're from
tax
Pennsylvania, you
laws,
criminal?
So, well, there's different tax laws. So technically, you're not supposed to transport alcohol across state borders.
Yep.
Because one state has one tax law and rules, and another state has a different one.
So
we're doing this.
I'm fine with that. I'm just saying, for search, you need probable cause. Are they saying probable is enough that you're from Pennsylvania? You're probably a alcohol runner.
I guess.
Well, at this point, what do you do?
Okay, we got 11 attendees. If you're a lawyer, raise your hand. I want to talk to you.
No, but anyway, the reason why I brought that up is because I read that what Andy's talking about. I read that how it's illegal to take it across straight lines, and so. Right. It's if a cop stops you for whatever reason, if you're going 5 miles over the speed limit, they feel like stopping you because they want to because they're bored, then they'll ask you where you've been. And so that's why I was like, okay, I had to debate on, do I want to be tracked going into Jersey, or do I want to have ways that could tell me where there's where there's police on the highway so I can make sure I'm obeying the speed limit and everything like that, which I chose the Waze route. So, but it did make me think. But the way these apps, the reason why I brought these apps too.
So you're telling me without knowing where the police are, you can't obey the speed limit? Am I understanding that correctly?
I don't speed like crazy, but even if you go over 10, 15 miles over the speed limit, you don't know what can happen,
You can go 11 miles over the speed limit.
Speed limit all the time, though. That's I think you could do that. I think that's possible.
Yeah. So anyway, what got me didn't want to get up down the sidetrack, but it all was kind of about this because once I was reading about that and about how and then this whole contact tracing and these the talk of building this into the phones. Like I said, I'm fine with accepting the fact that your phone is a tracking device on you, and if you really wanted to, you have to turn it off. And like I said, when I do that trip, I did think about turning off my phone. Just was like, okay, but but then I chose to have it on. But the way that these apps are going to work, from what my just briefly kind of reading how it's going to be based on Bluetooth. How there's going to be what Google and Apple are talking about doing is that there's going to be a key, and that's going to be tracked to some type of database. So if Anthony gets tested for the corona, like we talked about, and he has it or he had it, then that's going to go on his record. Which that part, another data point that the government knows about you. But then apparently what these apps do is that somehow it pings with the service that keeps track of whether or not you had it or you have it, and then if you walk next to somebody, these Bluetooth, the Bluetooths are going to
Bluetooth beacons,
talk to, basically. Yes, so they're going to the apps are going to talk to each other through Bluetooth, and then going to send you a notification saying that you just walked by somebody or talked to somebody or standing next to somebody who had it, so you should be now lock yourself up for 20 days and don't talk to anybody else yourself. Or then you'll be listed on your side and the system saying okay, you were next to somebody who had it, and then it goes on So for me, it feels like a very kind of weird.
The jump I'm not seeing there is how are they going from you got tested positive to Apple or Google knowing about it? That to me, I want to know what that jump is.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they're
saying. I'm okay to share my medical data with Google for to anonymize it, and okay, I'm okay with that. But if it's not me, I'm not okay with this.
So at some point, it's capturing the Bluetooth code of your phone, and now
that's a marker. Apparently, these are keys, they're secure keys. That so you have a unique key that's only to you. It's not supposed to have any other information about you, but it's just a key. Then that key is identified with your data somewhere. They're not being clear about where the data is and where they're getting the information about you. But then when the apps, let's say the two phones are next to each other, if these two apps are compatible with this Bluetooth type identify service, then they'll ping each other just based on Bluetooth, and it'll just happen automatically.
Interesting. That's
Yeah, I mean, because really the only thing you'd have to do that, to do the link, is wherever you have the positive results, it's just hand over your phone and we'll put it up to the reader so it knows it's your key. And now it just marks you as positive. Doesn't care who you are. It's the device has basically been marked as positive.
Yeah.
So that's in its own
and then you just take this down the road.
Concerning.
After we get through this whole, the pandemic, everything like that, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, once this technology is in place and it's just working behind the scenes, that's the scary thing. That's where
they were already doing that during after 9/11 when they were just tracking terrorism. I mean, there's that was what the whole what's his name? They just made a movie about him. The guy who's in Russia, lives in Russia.
Snowden?
He used to work. Snowden, that guy. Yes.
Yes. As you can tell, I'm a big fan of Snowden.
That's what basically those guys were doing. Just figuring out how to track.
Kind of, but they're that's a different kind of tracking. This is far more active. And what's crazy about it is tracking it to your device is really interesting, because if it's device level, then I mean, just imagine you're gonna have a black market open up for, hey, I need a clean phone.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why it's kind of crazy, because like that's what Google App are talking about, is building it into their devices.
Because device level is both, even I think probably in its own way, a different type of concern. But then yeah, if it's just device, then well, what happens when I switch devices? Or
and the one thing, and just like we bring up, like, Snowden and everything that got changed after 9/11 and the whole privacy laws that got changed around that. But it's the fact of like, okay, I can kind of, and Apple's been pretty good with and that's why I use an iPhone, because I think that they've been pretty good with security and kind of protecting your information. I think it's not been definitely better than other companies have. Who knows what Google does? You could just imagine what they could do with it. But I'm more worried about, like, once they have this information, then, or once this technology is in place, then who else is going to use it? As in governments and other organizations and stuff like that, that can just get this information, get the data too, to pipe into it.
And once you're like broadcasting your beacon and your location that way and share, there's much concern about this.
Yep, definitely.
In a post-coronavirus world.
Who's Nick LVSA? Is that Nick?
I don't know. I've
Nick Lance?
I was wondering if it was Nick Lance, but he hasn't messaged us confirming. So Charlie says it's my son.
Charlie's son.
So Anthony, now that you've got hitched, are there any babies? Are there any babies down the road in the plans?
No.
Big no.
No.
I felt like this was an awkward Mark segue, but I don't know.
I love the segues. You know me, Tim. Come on.
No,
we gotta keep it moving here. Don't like that air.
So Tara has a 20-year-old son who goes to the University of Arts, and
oh, cool.
We're good with that.
All right.
I think I just turned 49, so it's not exactly looking to start a family at this point.
So if you well, Tim, since we know you have kids, how many kids do you have? You got like a lot of kids.
7.
Like a herd.
I have 7 kids. I don't know if that's quite a herd. I don't know what you call a collection of children.
So
how you have 7 kids?
I have 7 kids.
The card in the Trello.
In Trello, yeah.
Says you went on a road trip with 6 kids and a dog. So where was number 7?
That was 6 kids and a dog was last summer. Number 7 showed up last fall. So he's our current 5-month-old.
So it's really 6.5.
Well, yeah. I guess I should say road tripping with 6 kids, my pregnant wife, and a dog. So is that where you're trying to go with this, Mark?
Yeah, it's like, and honestly, now I'm like, man, you have so much energy. I just have 2, and I'm happy they're growing up. They're you always were afraid of the teenage years. Now I'm actually glad they're in the teenage years, because actually they can actually take care of themselves a little more now. So I'm like, and you're just like, you're crazy. But how has the homeschooling been doing with you?
Oh, that's where we're going with this. Okay,
yeah.
I didn't. We're going in like sequential order.
Have you adopted any new? Well, since you were a previous homeschooler, right? That's what you and your wife did. So,
my wife wasn't homeschooled. I was homeschooled. I was homeschooled all but 1 year.
But with your kids, you've been doing this all along, right?
Yeah. We've homeschooled.
Have you adopted anything new since the? No. Everybody's been trying to jump on or has been having to jump on the homeschooling bandwagon here.
Not really. The thing that I like is I think it shows. And this will be of interest to those as more of the startup side of things for our vast number of listeners. I think there's a big opportunity, a big market for homeschooling technology, and I think actually kind of saw some of that. There's some startups around similar concepts that were gaining some traction before a month ago, right? But now that everybody's a homeschooler, I think people are realizing, wow, there's opportunity here. And I'm hoping that they realize there's more than just temporary opportunity. Because like some of the great things are, I don't know if you saw, I mean, your kids are a little old for this probably, Mark, but if you know who Mo Willems is, author of some kids books. They're really simple kids books. It's Elephant and Piggy, and they're really fun, but just really simple kids books. And he started hosting, I don't know if he's still doing it, but live at like 1 p.m. Eastern on the Kennedy Center for the Arts YouTube channel. He would do I think a half hour of drawing with the kids. He'd show them how to draw the characters in his book. He just doodle, tell a story. And then if you know who Mark Rober is, he's a YouTube guy. Anthony will get a kick out of this. He's the guy that did the glitter cam. I know you know about, or not the glitter cam, the glitter bomb box for the package thieves. Right, yep. So you pick up the box, you open it up, and just spins glitter, and his version 2 actually sprayed fart gas.
Yep, I saw that one.
So, but the guy's a former NASA engineer who does like one YouTube video a month roughly with these engineering style feats. And he was, I don't know if he's still doing it, but he was doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday teaching science class. And a little live stream where he would teach different science concepts. Plus, I think intersperse some of his some clips from his videos that illustrated some of the things he was talking about. So it's kind of great to see that content. And we know LeVar Burton's live, reading again.
Yep.
I think he always was reading. It was a podcast, but now he's live streaming the recording of the podcast. So it's really interesting to see those things come about because everybody's like, all right, we need to, I need something to help teach my kids at home. And it's like, but that opportunity exists for a lot of people. And I think historically, people look at homeschoolers as well. It's a lot of people who do that for religious reasons. And there's certainly a huge portion, I don't know what the percentage is, I don't know these things, that do it for religious reasons. But there's certainly a lot of people that just do it because they want to have a more hands-on education for their kids. Mm-hmm. Like they want to be more hands-on with it. There are a ton of people that aren't looking, to some of what maybe, someone who came from a homeschooling background, some of your traditional curriculum publishers, which tend to have a religious affiliation, but they're just looking for a good thing to teach their kids. Mm. And here's the truth, because we've used a bunch of different online systems, we've used print curriculum in what we do, and there's really a gap there. From everything that I've seen, I have not found a really good platform for online learning that is geared towards the concept of homeschooling. That's not like hey, adopt everything from us and we just, you follow our program. You've got a huge amount of different concepts, like everything from, hey, it's video courses. The teacher's just you're gonna watch videos and do the work, and it's as if you're in a school. Okay, there's that. Or to the self-directed, you read the content, you consume the content, and even in some media and some videos, and then you answer questions. But none of it's great. And there's really an opportunity to kind of leverage technology and say, hey, we don't have to just pick one of those things. We can give you good content. We can give you testable content, so you can feel confident that your child is learning and hitting the goals, the developmental goals that they need. And we can also intersperse that with open content. Like, why can't look at all the stuff that is legitimately educational on YouTube? We can just curate content that is specific to different topics and just say, hey, watch that. You'll learn something from it. And we can bring in teachers. Like, obviously we can bring in teachers. We can bring in live teachers. We can bring in, content that's created specifically for a class. I mean, this is what you're having to do now, right?
Yeah.
So we can do that, and we can do that in a way that it's kind of a la carte, and parents can pick what works for them. But the problem is that's not been done. And there's a huge market, and I'm hoping that this is bringing a little bit of awareness to it.
Yeah, I also think because of, for my kids, because they were, going to traditional, ninth grader and a, seventh grader, and they were kind of going to the traditional middle and high school, classes. And when they had to transition to learning from home, and being a homeschooler in a sense, the technology wasn't there. In a sense, like they did have, they have these sites called Schoology, and they have like other sites that the kids use, that they were kind of used as like
I mean, Khan Academy is a huge
to add on to like the assignments the students were already working on. But then the instructors had to like just rely on that as like the only thing to teach these kids when they're at home. And I don't know, I felt it really was lacking. Also, the faculty instructors just don't really know how to use it. I was talking to my daughters about like most of them are not doing like custom videos themselves. They're just, they're, like I said, they're maybe curating a little bit, maybe posting some assignments, but then the instructions actually are very, very limited. So I agree. From a homeschooling perspective, I think it could definitely, there's a lot of opportunities there, and also for just the traditional education, too, because I think coming out of this, not only the parents, but also just schools too, would probably find, they kind of a reality of like, they need to upgrade the technology, not just the technology in the school, but the technology used outside the school.
Yeah. I think there's a huge market. Yeah. What was that, Anthony?
Well, the Tara homeschooled Sam because Sam was an exceptionally good, and some didn't know do him, so she homeschooled him until junior high school. So I think you've got that too, not just for religious reasons, but I mean sometimes you have. I think. You guys with me?
No, you're there. It's just breaking up a little bit, but yeah.
Sorry.
There's a ton of people that are homeschooling for just secular reasons that just they want more control.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is I think you'll see. I think the concept of a group of children go through the process as a group year after year, I think we're gonna see almost a customizable education where kids who excel at certain subjects can move faster than others, who need extra help in certain subjects can get the help they need. I don't know. I think that whole model of education is gonna be really shook up. I know on the university level that people are I think the universities are a little nervous.
Yeah, it's a little scary time here. I know that because we do like weekly. I was talking about like doing those 500 session Zoom meetings with the administration. So they are concerned, for registration going in the fall. We don't know what's going to be like in the fall. We're planning for on ground classes, but it's still a little bit of a vague, and also vague thing. They don't know if also it'll spike back up again, and they'll have to take a break then in the fall too. So they're a little bit concerned about that. I think it is forcing faculty to kind of reassess how they teach. Like for me, I was recording all my lectures on campus, and I was posting them online for my Blackboard, courses. And so for me, I just had to do the videos at home. And I think that for me, it wasn't a huge change. And I kind of like it because actually it's easier to do a video-based lecture where you don't have people interrupting it every 5 minutes because they don't understand something. So you could kind of like go through it a little bit slower, but then also have time, after the video for them to kind of interface with what they learn. But I think, it's going to force everybody from a college perspective too. It's interesting if colleges go more online, which I feel there's value in that, but the real value of college is, going to some place to learn with other people. Being on a campus with other students, learning from everybody else, be meeting with the faculty in person. So I definitely think that, faculty should kind of upgrade themselves and be comfortable doing this in this more digital remote fashion. But from a college standpoint of like the value of college and seeing that, how much it's going to be in the future. Yeah, it is a little bit of a strange time that this is kind of leading to.
Yeah. And I think along with that, it's also, you've got that colleges realizing, I guess we can deliver content this way, and you also got a lot of employers that used to say no, we can't work from home, that are now like, it's surprising that you can work from home. As someone who's always been a remote worker, that's I find that interesting. Keith is putting some questions in there. His wife is an art teacher and forced to put her classes online, but she's not that tech savvy, and totally get that, because I was helping out a friend of mine on Sunday who's having to do that and having to work with special ed students and on Zoom, and she's never used Zoom before. So totally get that. I am certainly not advocating that everything should move to this type of education. I think it's kind of just the opposite of that. It's that when we look at what's out there for home-based education, it is a lot of Well, it's either all delivered by video or it's all delivered by static content with questions after to see what content you've actually absorbed and retained. But it's got to be, well, obviously it doesn't have to be because it's not yet, but a system that gives us flexibility around these things would be great, because and Keith makes the point that you can't deliver a ceramics class, or you can't deliver a shop class online that well. But that said, there's a ton of great woodworkers on YouTube showing people how to do stuff. So it's how to mix it together, and that's, I think, my hope is after this we see that, hey, there is opportunity and there's potential to figure out how to do this, especially because when you talk about your actual homeschooling market, when it's not thrust upon everybody and you have to do it, those are parents who they want to be engaged with their students. So if the idea is we're going to watch this video, then we're going to go out in the garage and work on something, that's fine. That is exactly the families that are doing this to begin with. So I think there's a huge opportunity, and I hope that this is changing some perspectives and helping some people see that there's a lot of room for innovation here.
Yeah, I definitely think a lot's going to change, like it's college and expectations about that, but also interesting too. I think, people who, let's say, wouldn't adopt the homeschooling thing as through, elementary to high school as like the primary way to teach their kids, then actually I think it's probably become more accepted for, when students actually want to go to college or go someplace and they say like, oh, they were homeschooled, and, it'll be more of an accepted kind of form than what it used to be.
Well, and it should anymore. It is. My understanding is it is. I mean, I can't say that for sure, but homeschooling used to have a bad rap. It does not anymore. At least my understanding for most colleges. I'm sure you run into places where they just don't understand it. But the truth is, and this is not me trying to, I'm not trying to disparage public education or even private education. The truth is, though, a lot of homeschooling forces students to learn on their own. Especially once you
become
get
independent
higher,
learners. I agree with that. Once
you get into high school, because here's a question, parents: how many of you want to teach high school math? How many of you can teach high school math? So you end not, it's like, it's one of those things where it's almost like, hey, read it, and if you have questions, maybe we'll try to find my friend who does a lot of math stuff, and they can help you. Right. But you force the students to learn on their own, which when you say, well, what happens when you go to college? Well, that's kind of what happens when you go to college. Yeah. And that's kind of what happens when you get a job. So the truth is that method of education tends to prepare people to perform better in college and in the workforce. But Keith brings up another good point. He says a lot of good content, because he teaches, I'm sorry, I already dismissed that question, so I forget what I can find out, though. I can find out. Programming courses. So that's what I thought. He teaches programming courses, computer science. But he's saying the lectures are tough because it's just one way and no feedback, and that's a good point too, because I've done virtual conference. I'm a conference speaker. I've done virtual conference and tons of in-person conferences, and the in-person conferences are far more rewarding because you can actually interact with the audience a little bit. Virtual conferences just tends not to be there, and even like we saw that tonight in the Zoom meetup, right? We get here, the three of us are on, everybody else has to chat in the chat room. As Tim hits his mic, hit it. So I'm hoping there's going to be innovation there too, right? Because wouldn't it be great to see all the people in the Zoom room and be like, oh yeah, I've not seen Wayne for a while. Let me just click Wayne and be like, let's go in our own conversation where we can kind of subtly see what's going on with everybody else off to the side, but we can still have that, because that's the conversation that you don't get. And for people that work exclusively on Zoom, and not in an office, or maybe they're the one person in the remote team, or remote teams that want that same office feel. That is the problem with big Zoom calls. There's no way to be like, hey, yeah, let's just quick have this side conversation and then get back to the main. Not possible. So I'm hoping we'll see some more push to innovating technology that way as well.
Yeah, from a teaching perspective, that's why I mostly use Zoom for just small meetings, or small group meetings, either one-on-one with students, or let's say I have open office hours, which I just keep a Zoom session open and they have they're able to log into it, and that seemed to be working out well. But I think from a software, you brought up an interesting of like innovation from a software training perspective too, because that's partly what I teach. I think it'd be great if you had, because have you used like the like a code sharing screen sharing app, kind of where you can edit the same code, kind of like a collaborative, code editing, which I think it would be kind of cool if somebody could make a collaborative code editing, but for education, where you could see like a video, have video integrated to it, almost like maybe like a mini Zoom bar going up across, and then you could kind of pick the person you want to kind of work with, and then you guys can kind of work through an example together.
Okay.
I think that would actually be pretty interesting.
Now Charlie's saying that Zoom does have breakout rooms, so we have to check that. I'm gonna have to check that out. I've never seen a breakout room. I'll have to check that out.
That's in the meeting part. You can't do that webinar, but you can do it in meetings. I've been using it, but I've seen that.
Oh, I'll have to take another look at that tomorrow.
But yeah,
learning things on LVTech Radio.
Yeah. So Tara's son goes to the University of Arts, and that's a big thing that whole school has been trying to figure out how to do it, because how do you teach dance, or how do you teach?
Yeah.
They have glass blowing as a major at the University of Arts. Like, you can't have a kiln. I guess he could, but not every kid can have a kiln in their backyard.
That's
So you've got things like that, but but now Sam's lucky because he does music production, and mostly he can do almost everything on his laptops. And
Yep.
But it's going to be interesting. I think just saying Tara does marketing communications for schools, and I think this year you're going to see it's going to be a big transfer year. I think the schools that didn't handle this, at least on the university level, that didn't handle this well, I think you're going to see kids jump out. And I think they're going to go to the schools that have the reputation of doing it really well. And I think the other thing is, I think you're going to see a lot of kids take a gap year and take a year off, and maybe try to figure out what they want to do. I know Sam's trying to think about what his next steps are. Sam wants a degree because having that degree is a little bit more powerful, but he realizes that he's going to learn the most sitting in a recording studio with the producer, learning from someone who's 10 years his senior, in the industry. Or just like anything else, like trying to record it, trying to do something with it, and if it breaks, try again.
I think from it gives you the value. That's why I get concerned about too, is like we talk, because I think students are going to like see, because I think students are used to watching YouTube videos. They need to learn something. They're able to, I think they've been getting really, really good at kind of knowing how to search for the answers to the questions. And I think now that this transition is going to cause everybody to kind of think about, can I get the same type of education, but without having to go in debt for it, and to spend like 2 to 4 years, at a university or school, and to just kind of, and it would just still be the same like online experience. If it doesn't provide that face-to-face collaborative environment that I think is the real value of a college, and if there's not some way we can replicate that well in a digital space, if more of this happens, or I don't know, so just more, maybe people's perceptions about colleges changes, then it's going to be definitely a time. Because I was thinking about the same thing about how like there's gonna be a lot of students who are just deciding, maybe I'll just take a year off and just kind of wait it out. Get a job, get a job where I can, do my own, research, own learning where I can, and then figure it out after that.
Yeah. My I think she's 11, my oldest. The other day, she's telling me what she wants to study in college, which was, now I got to think about this. She wanted to study cooking, how to make money, and I think it was botany, because she's interested in flowers. And I'm like, oh, so you just want to be an organic gardener that has a restaurant? And how about, I said, you want me to just do some YouTube videos? And she's like, so I don't have to go to college? I'm like, well, I mean, I don't know if it would replace it, but at least you can figure out if you really want to do it or not. But yeah, we're getting to that point where there's so much ability to learn things from other experts in the field that colleges should be paying attention.
Yeah, I agree.
Should be paying attention. But kind of on this topic of what's changed, for the three of us, I think our workflows have changed in much different ways. I work from home. So what's actually nice for me is for the past 2 years, I've had it's a loft on an addition that we put on. So it's the, storage for everything, but it's actually my office by itself. Because for the longest time, my office was in the same room as our living room, dining room, the kids' schoolroom, and the kitchen. Because we were living in the downstairs part of the house that we bought, because that was the only place that had the kitchen. So all that was happening in one place, and these noise isolation headphones came in very, very handy. But it's been nice because I have this space although myself, that I always work from home. So nothing really changed for me. I'm guessing Mark is working from home more than he was. And I'm guessing Anthony is working from home way more than he was.
Yes. Well, Mark, you were like Tim. You were a mercenary coder for a while, and then you went back to the into the education field.
I totally agree, but you know what I've learned from this? I'm going out of my mind. I cannot take this. I'm going a little crazy. It's interesting. My wife and I have two different perspectives. I think, growing older, she's realizing she's more of an introvert and I'm more of an extrovert. And, interesting, like I'd like to work independently, but I do like to work around people. That's why I liked going to school. I liked being around people, being around the kids. And it was good, even though I probably spent more time actually doing the prep work at home. But also I loved going to coffee shops, or back in the day going to co-working places, right? Because I kind of like being around people, and I'm not around, don't have that anymore. So for, like I said, walking my dog and waving hi to somebody, that's the most I get right now. Or like going to a grocery store with a mask on and smiling underneath the mask.
So this is what drove him to actually want to have a Zoom meetup with us.
I miss you guys. I know. Come on.
Yeah. But I'm sharing what's Mark's office. So for those of you who thought he was actually working with that skyline behind him, he's not. That's a green screen. Yeah. But tell us a little bit, for those who might be new working from home, what's the most important part of this setup to you, Mark? Like, what are the key things?
Well, I've been working on trying to get some for me, doing online lectures, because I teach a couple online classes at Northampton, and they're just purely online. And I was starting the past year or so, I've been recording all my on-campus lectures and post them online. So I've been trying to get better at doing the lectures. So you see, you have a green screen, getting some lighting, so I can
plenty of lights in there,
have some good contrast and with the green screen and be able to do the chroma keying.
I obviously have
because what I do when I do my lecture videos, I'll put my desktop or Windows behind me, and I'll be like the talking head over it, and then switch scenes between those two. It seems to be, and I like that. It seems to be working out pretty well. So, but yeah, where I'm working too, I was taking a look at your pictures, and like you guys have some windows to look at. I'm stuck down in the basement, so I'm like down in a bunker area, which I like because it's quiet, and and I have a good kind of area to work from, but it's definitely dark and quiet. Especially if you do, and if I was just doing a couple hours each night recording some videos, I didn't mind it. But now I'm doing it from 9 o'clock or whatever to whatever time of night. It just feels that the days just blend together. Like I said, I'm going a little stir crazy here.
So Anthony, what's the most important part of your setup now that apparently you are working from home?
Yeah,
Uh-oh, are we losing Anthony?
I can't even see my own setup. I'm not sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Can't see you though.
No, but that's okay.
There we go. Yeah, so it's different. So kind of thinking that we were gonna go work remote, ran out to Kia, bought a desk and a hand crank standing desk, because I have a standing desk in the office, which I love.
Nice.
But yep, there we go. There's the setup. So that's my desk. I like the multi-screen. So for me, it's having a couple of screens to work off of, because I'm usually tracking email on one and working on whatever I'm working on the other. Really enjoy having, like Mark said, he's in the basement. I'm really happy that I've got the view out in my backyard and they're a side neighbor. But yeah, so I'm a bit more of an introvert. So I find I like working from home. But I also find that there's a disconnect between me and my clients, and even some of my coworkers. So it's nice to, like, I think when this is over, if I can, if we could do kind of a mix of, working a couple of days a week in the office and a couple of days a week at home, I think it's pretty good. I got, I'm commuting an hour and 10 minutes each way for work now. So I get 2 hours of my day back. I sleep an extra hour, and I get, an hour to work out or do something, or actually take some lunch. But Tara works from home, and she's been working from home for the last 6 months. So at least I have some company. I can walk out of the room and say hi, and we can have some water cooler conversation. But no, I kind of like it. I wouldn't want to do it permanently. But I definitely like the mix of working from home and working to the office a couple days a week.
I'm pulling up mine right now.
I don't have any cool action figures in my office though.
No, me neither.
All those.
Like I said, I don't have anything to look at, so that's what I do. I put up my little toys out on the wall there. So
now, Tim's got wow. Tim's
like Anthony, I like screens. So now I'm a developer. So this is my setup.
You run off of one laptop?
No, there is one laptop. Yeah. So the laptop there that you see front and center, that's my dev machine. So that's running Linux for those who care about such things. And the monitor on top of it is the second monitor for that. So that's my main development system, which I think one day I'm trending towards replacing that with a desktop and not a laptop for various reasons, which we may or may not get into. So, but those two center screens are my dev system. The one to the right there is my Windows system. So it's a Windows desktop. It's pretty old. I basically use that as my web browser. Web browser, any type of audio I need to do, that's where Zoom runs, because that's the screen that I'm actually kind of looking at right here. So that handles all that type of stuff, so I don't have to handle that on my main dev system, and it works pretty well. Like if you're a developer, you are going to Google all the time and asking questions because you forgot something, because that's just what you do as developers. So that's the system that I do that on, so I can have two screens for development. Usually that's something like a terminal on my laptop and the IDE writing code on the top screen there. And then off to the side is something that I recently added. That is a Surface Pro. Surface Pro that's stuck onto the side of my monitor. That is my Slack machine. So that thing just runs Slack. That's why it's in a tablet orientation. So I can see all the messages that are coming from my team without having to switch away from my main work. So
when you switch to your Slack machine, do you have like a Bluetooth button you switch over so you can use the same keyboard?
No, okay. So here's if you've not seen this and you want to use a multi-computer setup like I do, and you've not heard of this, I'm going to change your world right now. Synergy from a company called Seamless is a keyboard sharing application that lets you share it to multiple computers. So the keyboard and mouse is actually hooked into the Windows machine, and Synergy is running on the laptop and the Surface. So I don't do anything. I just move the mouse across it, and it jumps from screen to screen.
Oh, really?
As if they were all one big screen. So yeah, I don't switch at all. It's I just move. The only thing I can't do is like drag a file, but copy and paste, it actually manages the clipboards across there, so I can copy from one screen and paste to the other. So Synergy is amazing for that. So yeah, that's if I'm saying what's the most important setup for me, it's probably the fact that I can have all the screens that I need. It's a good keyboard, a good mouse, and what else do we got there? Oh, that's pretty much it. Good headphones, let me tell you. Good
so Mark Charlie's asking about sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Tip.
No, but I got a question about your green screen.
Green screen.
Yeah. Why don't you go back to it? What's the question? What's the question?
Green screen is how is it so crisp? And I think
okay, yeah.
My bet is it's your lighting, right?
It's the lighting, yeah. Because actually, I've been working on this for probably because when I was doing my grad work, I was starting to do more video with that too, and I wanted to get into doing some more training videos and thinking about doing that commercially. And it was the green screen. You have a couple of issues with it. Number one, the green screen has to be far enough back. So if you have the green screen close to you, you're gonna get what's called like bleed. You're gonna get like a lot of green bleed going around you. The other thing that you have to also do, which took some time, is you have to have good lighting on you and also separately on the green screen. So you see, I don't know. Do you have the other image? I think I had two image. Or the other image that shows the other lights.
Let me see if
I don't know if it has or not.
So
I have two like softbox style lights that are really just used for primarily just to light up the green screen. Because the other thing about making sure the green screen is consistent around you, and so you have a nice kind of so you don't have a lot of like fuzzy edges that happen or pixelated artifacts that occur, is if the green screen is lit as uniformly as possible. So if you have like your green screen where it's one shade of green in the top left and another shade in the bottom right, and then it kind of blends between that, then it could become like an issue where you start getting a lot of artifacting occurring. So if you can have some lights that light up the green screen, have far enough away from you, and then because I didn't take a picture, I have like another kind of key light that just goes on me then. So then the computer, when it does the chroma keying, it can separate it as cleanly as possible. Because I found that it really is all about lighting. That's what I read, but it's weird. But and also because I moved the office around, I moved the green screen farther back, because if I had it kind of pretty close to my back and then was trying to light it and try and do everything there, and then you just get a lot of bleeding, a lot of artifacting that wasn't that good. So it really is all about the lighting and the placement of the green screen. Because honestly, I was thinking it was the camera. And I tried to get like the best Logitech camera I could get. I don't really think it's that issue. It's really just the position and the lighting.
Yeah, I mean, camera's going to help, but yeah, lighting on the green screen, because what you want is you want even lighting across the green screen, because all you're doing is taking out that chroma key. So you're taking out that color. So you want the color to be evenly lit and the same. If you have any shadows or anything like that, it starts getting weird. And like Mark said, if you're too close, then some of the light bounces off of you. And the green light bounces off of you.
And you have a green. You start getting green effects happening over you, and
you'll see that with like the weather people, right? Where theirs is a combination of that, and also I think like depth, however they have that working, where they can actually go into the green screen kind of, and their arm disappear like if they wave at things incorrectly. So,
and also the software's actually gotten a lot better too. Because like even like I use like the Logitech Capture for a lot of my videos, just the default Logitech app that it comes out with, and it's got a lot better too.
I like how nobody's even
my thinking my invisible cup.
Yeah. So Zoom's doing some motion tracking there. I think it tries to figure out what's static in the image, but I like how nobody's even thinking that this is a green screen. That's how good it is, right? You can't tell.
So clean.
Clean. Yeah. That out of all the images in the world, I would pick this image to put behind me. I think we're about good. Yes. That's not bad. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. There were a couple things I wanted to get to, but actually, we got one question here. Thoughts about the job market? And I think that makes sense. This is from Charlie, with our current discussion. So how is this going to affect that? And he's saying his son is graduating this year. He's a developer. Landed a job back in October working remotely from Pennsylvania to another state. And he loves it. Thoughts about the remote job market? I mean, I think it's going to grow. I think it's going to grow because there's a lot of companies that are now realizing that it is possible. For whatever reason they had in their mind, it wasn't possible. But they're now realizing we've been able to do it. Now, obviously, some things you can't do remotely, right? But for people that are working in technology, and it is technically possible to accomplish the work remotely, there's been a in some companies, in some cultures, company cultures, a historic kind of aversion to it because for some reason they believe, well, people aren't going to work from home, or we can't possibly, or there's not the collaboration that it is when there's around the office. Which the flip side of that is there's also not the mindless interruptions of people just coming up and talking to you about stuff, and you can't get things done. So there's a pro and con to either side, but I think they're realizing it can be done remotely, and after this, I think we'll see a lot more people working remotely. So I think that the remote market is going to open up, which, if you want to keep an eye on things. I've got a little girl that found a wireless mic and stuck it on her finger. So see, she's got
nice.
Now a wind guard on that. Say hi to everybody. Yeah, hi. This is Clara. This is what's great too. This now, because of all that has happened and everybody's working at home with all their kids, this is acceptable. Nobody's like, I can't believe you couldn't keep your kid out of your room. Now they know, yes, you can't do it. It's not possible. Everything in your house is not kid-proof barrier. You can't come up with that. It will never. Oh, okay, you're done. All right, enough of that. But you got your foot in my headphone. What you going to do? So yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more remote work. What's going to be interesting though, and I think Anthony, you're probably kind of attuned to this a little bit. What about the commercial real estate market? Because not only are there people that are basically saying we legally can't work, so we want a discount, but there's a lot of people that are realizing remote work works, so they're not going to expand as fast as they were. So I think we're going to have a positive impact.
I think the commercial office space is in real trouble. I think, like you said, a lot of companies who said, oh, we can't do remote work, or we can't part of our workforce remote, have realized, yep, we can do it. People can be productive. I think there's going to be some changes in how leadership and team organization happens. But I mean, why carry tens of thousands of square feet of commercial office as overhead when you can probably do that in a quarter of the amount of space and maybe rotate your workforce in for certain meetings? I mean, I think you're almost going to see sort of like, I think co-working is going to go commercial, where maybe it's not open to the public, but you'll set up, an office will be set up more like a co-working space where there's desks that can be shared. There's going to be a lot of meeting rooms, but I don't think you're going to see a lot of people permanently staying in offices anymore. I think there's either going to be a rotation or not at all. I think the commercial industry is in for a big surprise.
Yep.
But,
and I think with that question, I think I hear. Do you hear? Do you hear that? Does anybody hear that? I hope somebody's hearing that. So I think we're almost out of time here. We're gonna wrap it up. We've got plenty of stuff for the next time if we have to do this. In fact, did you know if you want a goat to show up in your Zoom meeting, you can hire it. There is goat to meeting. I'm not kidding.
Are you serious?
I'm not kidding. Look it up. Just do a search for goat to meeting.
I'm disappointed we didn't get to that.
Next time. We will totally have more time next time. I honestly don't know when the station ID or the bumper stops here. So it's about a minute long. I think somebody's going to say something here, but maybe not. No, I think we got about 10 more minutes. Hopefully we'll see you next time. Those that are watching on Zoom, stay tuned because we'll have a little after party here in a second.
Thank you for listening. Join us next time.
You would have thought I could have got that timing, right? No. All right, I'm going to